Hey everyone, it's Colin from Legalized Mischief Productions. Thank you for joining me and welcome. Today I'm going to be showing you how to paint a power sword and get that really nice fade, that kind of reverse north-south fade on the power sword. I'm going to be painting this one blue. The colors in this tutorial don't matter quite as much as just the technique and kind of the method of how we get that nice fade on either side of the blade. And what I mean about that kind of that offset fade is we want the right side of this blade to be light going to dark, and then we want the left side of this blade to be dark at the top going to light at the bottom. And then we'll do a sharp edge highlight to differentiate the two sides of the blade and just really finish it off nicely. So for this tutorial, I'll be using Vallejo Model Air French Blue, Vallejo Model Air Light Sea Blue, and Vallejo Model Color White out of the airbrush. And we're not going to use a brush until we get to the quick edge highlight at the end. So first things first, we want to do a base coat of the French blue on the whole blade. Just a nice even coat. Just hitting it with some air to speed up drying. And you can see how dark that blue is. That's perfect. I really like this color. I use it pretty often, especially for like OSL and power blades, stuff like that. So it's a really dark blue, but it's very, very rich. So it's perfect for what we're doing today. And then the second color, now you might be expecting me to grab the tape, but we're not going to grab the tape yet because you'll see. Because it just saves us time, it saves us a step when we don't really need to preserve. There we go. So this is the light sea blue. We don't really need to preserve the second half of this blade from overspray and things like that, because we're going to tape off the right half. You'll see. So with the light sea blue, light sky blue, or light sea blue. I had it. I get my blues confused. We're going about 2/3 of the way down the blade, and you can see there, maybe a little far, but that's okay. We'll come back to that. And then the other important thing when doing power blades is we not only want to alternate kind of light and dark on the front of the blade, but we want to make sure that the back of that side of the blade is reversed as well. So we're going from light to dark on the front side of that half. So on the back, we're going to go from dark to light. So we're going to start at the bottom on the back, go about 2/3 of the way up, and leave. So you can see there it's reversed on the back, and it's going to be reversed left to right, but we're not quite to the left to right portion yet, so we're just making sure that we keep it. So now I'm mixing in a little water because I'm going to throw some white in the cup and lighten this up so that we can spray our final fade. And we want this to be pretty light, almost white, but not. You don't want to do pure white. I see a lot of people using pure white, and it's just too strong. It's too much of a divergence from like the dark blue to do like a whole blade. Maybe like little points of white if you're doing some hand blending or something. But in general, it's just too far of a departure that it doesn't look I hate to say natural because we're talking about a glowing sword blade of energy, but it just doesn't look natural. So, but you can see like on my glove here, it's pretty light. It is pretty light. So we're going to go back to the sword blade, and we're going to do just really the top third, and this is very thin because we want to maintain those blends. So you can see there on the right side of the blade we have some good blends going, and it's not pure white. It's definitely a light blue. And this is something that happens too, a little bleed over onto the back. Lick my finger and just wipe that off and clean that up. Super easy. So we'll get the bottom part of that blade as well. So now we've got that fade going from dark to light and then light to dark on this side. So that's a very good start to our power blade. Just drying it off real quick. Perfect. And now comes the fun part. Clean out the cup. That's okay, we're going to come right back to that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get our Tamiya tape, and I use Tamiya because it's the best. It's worth the extra couple bucks that you spend for a roll. I don't use a ton of this stuff, so a roll lasts me a little while, but I highly recommend it. What I'm doing now is I'm just getting a lot of the tackiness off the tape, so it doesn't stick as much. We don't need this to hold on for very long. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take the side of the blade that we're working on, which is the right part of this blade has that light to dark. The left part of the blade is the one that we're going to paint next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tape, I'm going to lay it right down the channel on the blade. And you can see how fragile this paint is. It just wiped off a little bit with my thumb. That's okay. That's going to be painted here in a second. And then I'm going to take another piece of tape. I'm going to take the tackiness off. So you've got light to dark on the front. You've got dark to light on the back. And I'm going to take another piece of tape. And I'm going to run it right down the channel. And this you want to make sure, come on. You want to make sure that you're really, that you're really hitting that channel accurately. Because that's going to determine. So I just took the tape off the other side by accident. That's fine. We'll just throw it right back on there. And you want to make sure you have a good seal. Get our second piece of tape. And right there. Perfect. So that edge highlight that we're going to do is going to give us a little bit of leeway, but not a ton. So we want to make sure that we do get a very good, clean, straight adhesion to the channel on the sword. So now we're going back with the French blue, the first blue, and remember the right side of this blade, and this is one of the reasons I do this so that I can remember. The right side of the blade is light to dark, so we want it to go dark to light. So we'll go back with the French blue and just base coat that side of blade again. This one goes from light to dark, so we want it to go from dark to light. So we're base coating that blade again. And then we'll get the dark sea blue, or excuse me, light sea blue. And this is something that I'll usually do if I have a couple models that need power weapons. I'll usually paint them together so I can do these in one go. But when you're first, getting the hang of it, you can, do them individually or however you want. So this one, getting a little bit of spatter there. That's okay, we can fix that. So we'll continue with the blade, and then we'll go back at the end and we'll fix that spatter up a little bit. Not a big deal, totally fixable, but we do want a nice smooth blend on the sword. So we're going about 2/3 of the way down, light to dark. So this one we want to be dark to light, so we're going on the bottom 2/3 of that side. In a little bit of splatter, but it's not bad, but it's also not something I want to leave. Not something I want to leave there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that French blue and I'm going to water it down very thin, very, very thin. So you can see here on my glove just how thin that is, almost like a glaze. But this is just the French blue paint. So we're going to take that and we're just going to hit that transition between the two colors with that wash, that glaze, and you can see how that evened everything out. It didn't even really affect the color. Ooh, hey, way too thick. So you can see there, it just really evened out that blend. And what I'm doing is I'm just pulling back a little bit on the trigger, just to give it a little spritz, and then I'm leaving the air. So I'm holding down on the trigger to shoot air constantly, and then I'm holding down to shoot air constantly like that, and then I'm just giving it a little wiggle. You can see on the paper there, I'm just giving it a little wiggle to kind of give it shots of color, but you can see how fast that dries. So when working with a really, really thin glaze or something like that, this is a great way to maintain control, and you can see it's kind of building up color there. But because you're shooting so little and you're shooting the air constantly, it dries almost immediately, and so you don't get running, you don't get pooling. It takes a little bit of practice to get used to doing that, but it's a really great technique, especially when working with very, very thin paint. So you don't get pooling, you don't get running, you don't just end up hauling off and shooting a ton of paint all over the model. So when it's something controlled like that, that's a really neat little technique to get in the habit of doing, because it really helps Sorry, I'm having trouble thinking today. It really helps to save us from having to go back and just like repaint the blade. We can just adjust with those glazes and just kind of fill back in those shadows instead of going back and saying, oh, well, now I need to redo the middle color. Now I need to redo the end color. Now I need to do this and that. We can just get rid of that spatter and then just move on with our lives. So now we're going with that very, 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 very light blue, almost white blue, and just finishing off that fade, maybe the top third, bottom third, and now we have that. That looks pretty white on camera. It's a direct light, but it is blue, very, very pale blue. Because pure white will just be way too much. So make sure everything's clean, everything's good, because now we're going to the brush. So make sure that's dry. Get a quick little palette here. So that looks pretty dry. And now we peel the tape off very gently. And we have that nice fade going on that blade on both sides, mirrored north to south. Really nice. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of that light sky blue, light sea blue, excuse me. Gosh. You know, when you work with so many blues, it gets a little confusing at times. A dark sea blue, light sea blue, dark sky blue. So a little bit of that sky blue and a lot of white. Again, this is going to be pretty much white with just a little tint of blue. You can see here, very much, almost pure white, but it does have a tint of blue. Get a nice point, well, get a better brush than that. There we go. That was my mix in the cup brush. So get a nice point on the brush by rolling it and then using the side of the So again, just made a potentially disastrous mistake, but lick a finger, wipe it off, keep going. We will persevere. Oh, there's a little bit on the other side there. One of the things I love about acrylic paints. So, and working with thin paints, because these paints are so thin, I can do stuff like that. So using the side of the brush, and I did it again. So using the side of the brush and just going right down the middle, right down that channel. And this paint is very, very thin. And that's how we are not pressing on this hard at all. Nope, too much. We're not pressing on this hard at all. We're just drawing the brush very lightly across the top. And again, getting a nice tip down the side, turn it, down the other side, turn it, down the middle. And this works for red, green, purple, whatever color power weapon, and that'll depend on your paint scheme, that'll depend on your army scheme, what are your secondary and tertiary colors. But for a blue power blade, that, and let's get this other tape off there. Doesn't want to come off. So we can kind of see, there we go. So we go back in and maybe touch up like these little spots here, but overall, that's a pretty good looking power blade right there. I like that. So that's a simple power blade, just 3 colors, a little bit of, mostly airbrush, a little bit of tape, a little bit of edge highlight, and done. So hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Hope it's useful. You know, power blades are everywhere. This works for any shape. You just kind of have to shape the tape differently, and it's a really nice technique. It doesn't take. I mean, that took 20 minutes with, you know, explaining everything. And so once you get the hang of this, you can knock out good looking power weapons in a very short amount of time. So hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and we'll be back soon with another one. Thanks a lot.